Now, I had originally intended to celebrate my return to theatrical movie viewing with a brief review of The Eternals. Uh, I got to see it with my wife at the beginning of December, and well, I was pretty happy about it. I mean, I still have a review for it cooking in my head. But just as I was about to get to work recording it, well, lo and behold, I sat down and streamed the apocalyptic satire, Don't Look Up by Adam McKay. This movie has a who's who of Hollywood A-listers, from Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, we have several generations of A-listers here. We have Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, freaking Meryl Streep, including up-and-comers like Timothy Chalamet. The list goes on and on. I mean, there are even uncredited cameos here, and I dare not spoil them. It's a lot of fun. And why are they teaming up with writer director Adam McKay? Because, well, this movie has something worthwhile to say. Okay, the movie, as the trailer suggests, it's about two scientists, Randall Mindy and Kate DiBiase, played by DiCaprio and Lawrence. Basically, they discover a comet that's about to hit the Earth, and they try to get the White House, or they try to get the American president, played by Meryl Streep, to do something about it. And basically the two of them find out that the preservation of all life on Earth is one of the last things, that President Orlean considers important. Okay, and this is a recurring theme throughout the film. You find out pretty early. I mean, long story short, okay, America, as embodied by its government, by its redneck people, etc., is more concerned about self-interest rather than the greater good, and sometimes that self-interest, or the obsession with the bottom line, can even come at the expense of the preservation of their own self-interest. So, well, I liked it. I mean, I know that there's a lot of reviewers out there who've I mean, as of recording, okay, this film has a 55% approval score on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not the most beloved film, okay, but that doesn't, well, to me, even though I understand where a lot of the brickbats are coming from, I respectfully disagree that this film misses in its key points. Okay, I think that Adam McKay, who co-wrote and directed this, conveys his point about our misplaced priorities as a people very effectively, and how we are just so wrapped up in our own nonsense and garbage that if the apocalypse came, and bit us on the collective ass, we wouldn't even know it. And that's just that's the message that this movie conveys quite effectively. Okay, and the actors here: DiCaprio, Streep, Lawrence, Chalamet, the whole gang, Jonah Hill. They're all in tip-top form here. They're hilarious. It's totally worth checking this movie out. What's the problem though? So I'm gonna weigh in here. Why do I think that critics have had a problem with this movie? And it's worth asking this question because, remember, Adam McKay was nominated for an Academy Award or two a couple of years ago. I mean, as recently as 2016, when he did work for The Big Short. And Hollywood and the critics, the left, whatever you want to call them, are really fond of movies that stick it to the man. And this movie sticks it to the man like nothing else this year. So why are critics so pissed off? Why are critics up in arms against this movie, even the guys who usually cheer on lefty narratives? Well, my perception here is that there's a there is a smugness to McKay's narrative. It's like, you're all idiots, you know. I think that's a little extreme. That assessment is a little extreme. But I also think, and here's a more personal take of mine. Okay, Adam McKay is the director of Anchorman and its sequel. He directed Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, Step Brothers. This is a guy who built his career, whose bread and butter was, you know, has by and large been these frat boy comedies starring Will Ferrell. Okay, and he only started to kind of transition to more serious stuff when he made the buddy cop movie The Other Guys with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, because I think that had that movie wrapped its juvenile comedy in a narrative. It wrapped it around a narrative about corruption in the police. Okay, so he's always had this in him, but his vehicle for telling these stories has always been these really broad comedies. This was the guy who freaking filmed the Sex Panther scene. Okay, I know that Adam McKay fans among you know what scene I'm talking about. This scene is it's legendary. It's immortal. It's look it up on YouTube right now if you want to know what I'm talking about. And the fact that he told this story and elicited as many laughs as he did, because this is a genuinely funny movie. I mean, there are a whole bunch of unsubtle attempts to make people laugh, and you know what? I laughed. You know, I found him funny. This movie is not about subtlety. It is as broad as it gets. Its message is written in neon lights all across the screen, and it does not, you know, it doesn't shy away from its jokes. So what's the problem? The problem is when Adam McKay, his writers, his you know, when he and his actors suddenly decide that they're not in an Adam McKay movie and decide to go all dramatic. And I get that a movie about the end of the world can't all be farce. There have to be some key dramatic moments in the movie, and there are a few that work, but not all of them do. And so it comes across as ridiculously preachy. Okay, I get that this movie was made when Donald Trump was still president, and that there were a bunch of people basically denying that the COVID-19 pandemic was even a thing. I get the spirit of frustration, of sheer frustration with the collective stupidity of the American people that was so prevalent last year. You know, I get this. Well, because quite honestly, we here in the Philippines have been embracing our collective doom for years now. It's ridiculous. But as far as a narrative goes, the problem with Don't Look Up is that, yeah, I mean, rather than smooth sailing with its chosen vehicle of narration, which is comedy, it stops every now and then and starts to veer into dramatic territory. And that for me is where the movie stumbles. It doesn't fail. Let me be clear on this. I do not believe for a second that this movie fails. But it does stumble, it does stutter. Okay? So what do I give it? Well, I give it a 7. Okay, this is a movie that's got A-list actors. It's got working at the top of their game. It's got a director with a rock solid message. You know, the only problem being that I can perceive anyway is that his narrative methodology stumbles every now and again. But it's still a rock solid movie. It's still worth checking out. Okay, and that's all I got to say about this. You know, it's probably best if you see it for yourself. It's the kind of movie that has to be seen to be believed. All right, so 7 out of 10 for Don't Look Up. Make it a point to check it out. It's available on Netflix right now. And that's it. And if you like what you see, remember to give me a like and a subscribe.